or go live with my guest, Keith Harrison from Total Home Technologies. And about 6 minutes into the live stream, Facebook failed us, and we ended up having to abort. So we're going to give this another shot. Let me go ahead and check with my technology. Let me see if it looks like we are streaming. And if you are out there, give us a like or a share, and in the comment section, maybe just confirm that you hear the audio. That would be super, just so that we Keith and I certainly like to talk to each other, but we want you guys to hear the conversation, and that's what makes this all work. So what is today? Today is Thursday. It is April 9th. It is about 12:30 p.m. Chris Gamble is telling me that let's see here. Chris says Facebook hates you, Ron. Well, thank you, Chris. I think you're right, at least today, which is pretty funny. Let's see here. There we go. Look at that. So Wes is out there. He says he can hear me. Well, thank you, Wes. I appreciate that. That means somebody's watching. All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and jump right into the interview with Keith Harrison from Total Home Technologies. So let me go ahead and bring in Keith. What's up, Keith?
Hey, Ron. Ready to do this again?
Let's do it again. Well, we only got 6 minutes into it yesterday, and Chris Gamble is already asking who's on the show. So, Keith, who are you?
Keith Harrison, Total Home Technologies, and hopefully you guys can hear me today. Oh, Angel says she can.
Yes, yeah, we're getting some confirmations that the audio is working today, at least so far. Fingers are crossed.
Minute 7 is the one that counts.
Minute 7, that's right. So if you could fill our audience in, Keith, tell them a little bit about your. Well, first of all, let's start with your business. You're based there in New Jersey and Manhattan, and then let's go back and talk about kind of your origin story in the industry.
Nothing tremendously exciting, probably like most people. Decided I wanted to do this right while I was in college. I was a aerospace engineering major. Decided I wanted to start my own business. That was in the early 90s. Started a small retail kind of electronics shop, and then it migrated into being a full-blown home automation business. It was one retail store, and now we have 3 showrooms that are appointment-only showrooms for automation, and all 3 are Control4 certified showrooms. We were in the process of working on our 4th, but obviously that's on pause with the pandemic.
Yeah, for sure. And within your 3 showrooms, you said you are all 3 locations are C4 certified. I don't know of many multi-location C4 certified showrooms. So how many other integrators around the country or around the world fit that classification?
The last I checked, and I asked the Control4 department that runs this, I think we are the only company that has 3 certified showrooms, but that may have changed.
That may have changed. Okay. Well, that's kind of a neat stat. So I know I want to dive into that. And let's see if I am able. Normally, I am able to put messages on the screen from the live stream, but it looks like the technology is not behaving today to allow that. But I do appreciate all of you that are commenting. Angel says, welcome back, Keith. He's coming to us from Mexico. Chris says he hears us. He's coming to us from the UK. So thank you, Chris. Kendall says, hey, Keith, good to see you and hear you. So it sounds like so far so good. Keith, how are you guys doing with the lockdown there? You're right up there in the epicenter of New York, New Jersey. What is life like right now?
Well, we work in both New York and New Jersey, so the rules are actually different and changing almost daily. Anybody that tells you isn't a difficult challenge, both financially and emotionally, is either amazing or lying. So every day we have to figure out what rule happened the day before. At the same time, besides the rules, we're probably trying to be even safer than what's allowed. I personally, from day one, said, well, all of my teams of 2 are broken up into teams of 1. Um, we have, besides the 3 showrooms, we have a separate address that's an office. So we just put 1 person in each location to work remotely, or if something needs to get done. So we're trying to isolate the team from each other. And of course, isolate them from clients as well. For the most part, we ask customers to not be home if they desperately need a service call. We're trying to do a lot more remotely, but we were always very big on remote service. It was a big part of our business for almost 5 years, maybe longer. So a combination of all those things are how we're getting through. You can still do work outside. So outdoor audio and outdoor video and wiring and things like that. Some new construction projects you can work on, and we're making sure that other trades aren't there at the same time. Fortunately, nobody on my team has been directly affected, but some of them have been indirectly affected. So some of my team members can't come into work either because a household member got COVID and they're now quarantined, or they have children and they have to stay home to take care of their kids. So we're working around all that.
Your business is deemed essential. Is there a lockdown where you are prevented from being able to go out and do work, or on a limited basis, are you allowed to go out and do work on projects?
Well, there are lots of rule makers. So we are deemed essential under 2 different categories, home networking and connectivity. And we also have a general contractor's license. So, and once again, different states, different rules. But at the same time, we could go into a building and the building could say there's no work being done. So then the building could have their own rules that could circumvent that. We also might say that we're uncomfortable because there's a full household and they don't have a way to segregate themselves because of the size of the apartment or something. So it is truly situational.
Yeah. What is the here in the US, I want to say maybe last Friday. So today's Thursday, April 9th. So last Friday, here in the US, the CARES Act with the payroll protection program. And I know we have an audience listening and watching from around the world, and rules are different in every country.
Yeah.
But here in the US, what's called the PPP was open for submissions. Are you submitting for that? And what has that process been like?
Absolutely, we are. I mean, let me just go bigger picture. The PPP is just one part of the whole program that's come out. There's probably about 5 or 6 different divisions, all with their own initials. And I do not claim to be an expert on them, but I have read and tried to understand them, and have my financial people working on. We have applied for all of them. Even prior to that, the SBA loans that have been in place for probably 30 years, about 3 weeks ago, almost day one of COVID lockdown, about 3.5 weeks ago, the SBA determined that if COVID was in your county, then you then qualify for an SBA loan. In the past, you would qualify other ways, like if your building burned down, if there was a natural disaster in your area, if it was the first time ever buying a property as a business owner. There would all be other ways to get an SBA loan. And they blanket said, one of the very first things that they did is they blanket said, if you're affected by COVID, which is pretty much everybody, you qualify. So that opened up the SBA loan massively.
So you were already ahead of the game investigating those options weeks before the CARES Act was passed.
Correct. And I kind of, listen, I'm not a politician, nor do I really follow politics, but I have to say, I mean, I've never seen our country pay so much attention to small business. It's kind of liberating. It's kind of nice to know that we make a small difference. We make a big difference as a small company, collectively. So, I mean, we've all heard about bailouts in the past. and you
It
hear
never small and medium
and you hear
business being
you hear
the
financial
recipient.
institutions and corporations and insurance companies and car companies, and you never hear about the little guys. And it's nice to know that we've got some attention and we're important.
Now, I agree with everything you just said. How many people, business owners, do you know that have actually received their confirmation and/or their confirmation and payment?
I don't know anybody that's received a payment yet. I'm not saying that anybody hasn't.
Right.
I'm not an expert. I'm really
Do you know
not
many that
focused
have
on them.
received confirmations?
I do.
You do. Okay.
I know a
I want
few.
to say I know a few, and
Yeah,
I can
I know a
count them
few.
on one hand. And
I'd say about the same.
yeah, we have submitted here at One Firefly, but we have yet to receive that confirmation. But we are fingers crossed, like every business owner I know that is applying. Now,
It's complicated. Did you have to fill out the application more than once, Ron?
I did not. My bank, I bank with a small regional bank here called Synovus, and they're in a couple of states. They're bigger in South Florida, and we could not submit until 6 p.m. on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And even then there was a second email which came in on Saturday, which allowed us to do the full application and submit all of our documents. And then I was receiving communication as late as 9 o'clock on Sunday night. There was email back and forth from the underwriters at the bank as they were processing our application, had some questions. And we received notice on Tuesday that it was approved in underwriting and was moving to the next phase. But I don't know what that next phase is. And it's Thursday afternoon and we haven't heard anything. So,
have you heard anything about timelines? I mean, I've heard a few. I just want to know if they match up with what I heard.
Well, I've heard, a number of business owners that have confirmed they received approval. And so I think approval started coming in as soon as Monday, this past Monday. What would that be? That'd be the 6th, maybe Monday, the 6th. And, but I have not heard of anyone that had received payments. And I think the speculation was around 2 to 3 weeks in terms of when that would come through. And then I see here on our Facebook feed, I see Sean says he has heard of several he says, I have several I know myself. So I'm assuming that it's approval. Sean, type in the notes. Is that actual money
he popped that up when
arrived?
you were talking about approvals. I'm pretty sure that's what he means.
Yeah, approvals, but I don't know of anyone. But
I'm hearing now 5 weeks to receive money.
You're hearing 5 weeks.
I've heard it went from they were initially saying that money would start showing up in 3 to 4 days. That was the original claim, and then it got stretched out to maybe 5 weeks. Once again, there's so many emails floating around. There's so much information floating around. So I'm not saying that I have any other information better than anybody else.
It is super interesting. Well, let's talk. You're doing a number of things that I think are really interesting, and those listening and watching might be able to gain some takeaways. One is you are very unique in the universe of integrators that I know around the world, in that you have developed a component of your business built around RMR, recurring monthly revenue. And do you want to say publicly the percentage of your revenue that's coming in through RMR right now?
Sure. It's about 1/3.
1/3. And that is not security monitoring. Okay. So this is not security. You don't do security. So you're doing that through a creative service and maintenance approach, and as well as equipment leasing. And do you mind, I'm going to put your website on the screen while you talk, but do you mind just kind of telling the audience a little bit about kind of this brainstorm you had and then how you implemented it?
Well, Ron, I've been doing this since before you and I met even. I feel like the industry in the past year to 18 months has kind of woken up to it. And it's been SOP at Total Home. There's a million things I can say about it. I really believe in the model. Yeah, it's great to sell people service, but I kind of looked to the car industry or the cell phone industry Cell phone industry is great. Back in the day, you'd get a phone, and a new model would come out, and you didn't want to wait a year or two to get the new model. I know that's changed a little bit because now phones are so good that you don't need a new one all the time, but you would be eligible for an upgrade. You could trade in your phone, maybe pay a small fee, maybe pay nothing, extend your contract, and continue on. And I was on a ProSource roundtable happy hour a couple days ago that a bunch of us were talking, and they were talking about a whole bunch of ruckus Wi-Fi systems they had put in some big houses, and saying that these systems cost $10,000 to $20,000 just for Wi-Fi, and they do, and great product. And I asked one of them, I said, how would you like to tell the homeowner that $20,000 Wi-Fi system you put in a year ago is now somewhat obsoleted because Wi-Fi 6, you put in Wi-Fi AC, and now there's Wi-Fi 6. I said, how comfortable would you be calling the homeowner up and explain to him that there's a better technology out now? I think they'd probably want to kill you.
Yeah, I mean, but I would also add that is probably the normal state of affairs for our entire industry. I mean, the concept. So how do you make equipment leasing work? That's my first question. And then the second is, how do you tie in a service or maintenance level commitment to that? Are they one and the same, or are they separate agreements that you have with the client?
Well, let me just address the first thing part, if it's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Most people, if you asked our average homeowner, what did it cost to maintain your car for 3 years? What do you think the answer would be, Ron?
The cost to maintain. Well, I don't
and I don't
know
mean a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. I mean like a BMW or a Lexus.
I don't know. I think I'm on your team here, and that I've been leasing for like the last 12 years. Because I don't want to, I don't know. I don't want to depreciate a car. I don't want to even think about it. I just want to get a new car every 3 years and be done with it.
Exactly. So there you go. Thank you. You proved my point. Most people have no idea what it costs to maintain this very expensive, complicated thing.
You gave me a trick question. Remember, I said I would give you no trick questions. That's always my rule on the show. It's always easy questions. But no, I'm just joking.
So that's the thing, is they have no idea, because it's built into the cost of the thing, right? When you lease a vehicle, you also get the maintenance and the service with it, and also a new model comes out pretty regularly. In fact, exactly once a year for pretty much every car manufacturer. So for some reason, when there's a new iPhone that comes out or a new model car that comes out, our customers don't get upset. But when there's a new touch panel or new Wi-Fi or a new main controller or a new video switch that comes out, our customers get really upset. And I don't know why that is, and I don't care to understand why. I just want to use the model that works. And the model that has worked for them is leasing. So instead of selling you a part and saying, hey, this is how much the part costs, and if it breaks, you're going to pay me to come and fix it, and maybe you have to buy a new one, and maybe it's under warranty from the manufacturer, and maybe it's not. How about, here's the cost per month for you to own this part, and if a new one comes out that's better, if the technology moves on, you can get the new one. It might be the same price. If the new part's the same price, it might be a slight upcharge. You can decide if you want to upgrade or not. But the price that you pay monthly is for the parts, the updates, the maintenance, and the customization of it. Most homeowners have never had an automation system. So the day you're collecting the last payment, the day you're in the house saying, look, everything works, everything's good, you're basically putting a gun to their head and saying, okay, now tell me everything you want this system to do completely customized. And they go, I don't know. So we want to give them the ability to customize that system over time and not send them a bill every time it should be included. Does that make any sense?
It does. I'm buying in. I could imagine if I were a customer of an integrator, I'm thinking that would probably be a pretty nice financial way to tackle a project and the obligation. How Why are more integrators not doing this? I want to say I think you're the only one I've ever met that's doing this. If you're watching or listening and you've heard of others, please type into the comments and share. Sean, you know a bunch of people. Have you ever heard of another integrator doing this? Why are more not doing this, Keith?
I get pulled, tapped on the shoulder at pretty much every, the 3 or 4 conventions that I go to every year, where somebody says, "Hey, can you explain how you do this? Can you explain what you do?" And I hear that all the time. I don't know of any other integrator doing it. I think that's going to finally start to change a little bit. Um, it's been really successful for us. It's been a lifesaver during this crisis because we have a third of our revenue coming in guaranteed. People are already set up on remote support. People are upgrading their Wi-Fi and parts that we're just either Ubering or shipping over to the parts to them and setting it up via a cloud service.
What if they stop paying?
Good question.
What do you do?
Well, here's the thing: is we have a contract. So what would happen if you stopped paying on your car? I'm not going to break into your home and repossess it, but
You have legal remedies.
we have legal remedies, and a lot of the value in what we're doing is the service that we're providing. So we can stop providing service, and a lot of it is licensing on parts that are physically in the home that we can reapply. So we can recoup some of it. Knock on something. It's never been an issue. If somebody doesn't like something, because that never happens, right? Every customer is always
I'm
happy,
sure they're always
100% of the time.
immediately and instantly happy.
It reduces the crime of passion. The crime of passion being something's not right. Sometimes the dealer never even knew that the customer was upset. They never even knew. They didn't communicate it, right? And they leave and go someplace else or live in pain, live in the world of bad service, and they don't even know. So at least this provides, hey, we've got an open line of communication. There's you don't have to ever worry about sending an email or requesting something and getting a charge because it's all included. So now the lines of communication are open a lot more. So if something isn't right, we've got a much better chance of hearing about it. I talk to integrators all the time and I say, I believe a lot of our customers suffer in silence. I believe a lot of our customers go downstairs and unplug that rack or unplug something in their home every day and curse about it every day and never let us know. I believe that occurs way more than we're willing to admit.
Oh, I completely agree. I'm on board with that position. I think
So if they're upset and we don't know, how do we fix that? This is much better way to do it. Make them comfortable to reach out to us, knowing that it's part of what they're getting every month from us. So of course we got to make it right.
Do you mind sharing a little bit of the structure? Do you work with a bank or a partner to do this? Do you self finance this, or how do you any of the behind the scene mechanics that you've figured out?
We self finance. So we started off slow. It was one customer that we tried it out on, and it was a smaller amount of money, and then one paid for the next, paid for the next, paid for the next, paid for the next.
Okay.
We've thought about farming it out. We've looked into it. I'm not saying that we won't.
But right now you do it in house.
We do it in house, and the main reason why is the leases change pretty frequently, and we love the ability that when a customer calls up and says, "Oh, hey, there's Wi-Fi 6 out, and we're all stuck in our house, and we need more Wi-Fi," that we can change that lease, at a moment's notice, up or down.
By the way, Wi-Fi 6 is a real thing.
Yeah,
I'm completely ignorant to this. Anyone watching or listening probably is not surprised by me saying that. What is Wi-Fi 6?
Okay, so there was Wi-Fi AC, which was the last generation. I don't know if you heard about that one. The one before that was called Wi-Fi. So it went from N to AC to the new one's called 6.
Okay.
And they reversed AC and now call it 5 and call N4.
Okay.
So the next one will be 7 when it comes out. It's not even on the drawing
Okay,
boards, I
so
don't think.
I put in I have like a Cisco router and a Cisco switch, PoE switch, and I have some Ruckus access points in my house. So those are probably Wi-Fi 5,
Yeah, also
I'm
called
assuming,
AC.
or AC.
So if you are a leasing customer of ours and you said, wow, everyone's home, we want more bandwidth, we need better Wi-Fi, I could courier over to you. We use all Meraki. So I could courier over to you some new access points. We would use Help Lightning to, augmented reality, help you just plug it in. I'd see it come up on my dashboard and it would just go into service.
Okay, awesome. And is it like what's different? This has to be a full IT session. Is it faster or more
Yeah.
bandwidth or all of that?
Faster, better, more. That's all you
Faster,
need to know.
better, more for less. Love it. All right. Well, you just mentioned Help Lightning. So I actually just had Mike Giffen from Help Lightning. So I told the story on that show. I actually had him on, I want to say on Tuesday this week on Automation Unplugged. And I told the story in that show that you, Keith, had taken me over to their booth at the ProSource event in Vegas. And we went over that. So I'm going to put that back on the screen. But if you could tell the audience here, how have you been using this augmented virtual support solution for your customers?
Sure. Well, I don't have to tell you that I was a fan of it when I saw it because I dragged you over to the booth.
Yes. Yes.
But we are big believers in, instead of client to employee communication, it should be client to company. So if somebody's busy, right, if you call, you're not calling my cell phone, you're calling the office phone that then routes to the first person available. So we always want somebody to be able to pick up the phone. I don't want to get an email from a client directly about support. I want it to go into our help desk because then it pushes out to everybody and we can see who worked on it and just try to be organized with support. To that means FaceTime or things like it are person or client to person or client to employee. Whereas Help Lightning, you can send somebody a link and they don't need an app on their phone. It doesn't matter what kind of phone they have or what kind of computer they have. And then when they open the link, it basically initiates something like a FaceTime call. They don't see the person on the other end. They could if you wanted to, but there's no reason for them to see me. I want to see what the client is having an issue with or what I'm trying to point to them at. And then, the cool part is, as long as the person helping, so the person on my team, holds their phone up against a white background, so you just hold it up against a white wall or a piece of paper, you can reach your hand into their image. You can freeze their image if you want, but then you can point to something into their image with your hand and say, this is the thing I'm talking about. You can even draw a circle around it. This is the thing I'm talking about. Can you take that thing and move it from here to here? Okay, yeah, that's the device on the rack I need you to reboot. That's the button on the remote I need you to press, whatever. So it's a really, really great way to kind of virtually have your hand in the person's home, during this quarantine.
What has been the response? I'm assuming so. You've been deploying it or working with it over the last 30 days.
Has
Or
it been
were
30
you?
days since we were in Vegas?
It has. Actually,
Yes.
it's been 30 days exactly.
Okay. So yeah, we started right up with them as soon as that was over, because a week after that is when the quarantine started. So I really saw that this is going to be a tool that's going to really help us. If you use another tool, you have to ask somebody to download an app. What phone do you have? What computer do you have? What platform are you using? It's complicated. They get a link, they click on the link, and it works in a browser. So
you're a fan.
yeah.
All right. So if you're out there watching, listening, check out Help Lightning. They've got some neat stuff, and their website is helplightning.com. So check that out.
It's just one tool along with, the remote team and Zendesk and an IP phone. It's all part of the Cisco Meraki. That's just one. It's one ingredient in the stew for good remote support.
Now, while we're talking about cool things, I'm gonna put one other cool thing on the screen because this is another cool thing that you pointed me to at the show, and I know that you've actually been a fan of these guys for a while. And let me try to go to the. So here I'm on their website. This is Modus VR. So
Mhm.
tell me what. And I know you've actually got a test rig over there to your right.
That's right.
You've got a headset. So what is this stuff, and how do you have in mind to use this to make your business better?
I don't know if I can explain how great it is over this podcast. I think you really need to do a demo of it. Um, it's a virtual reality design tool. So it's CAD and a headset. It's probably one of the only things in our industry that is really pushing the bounds of hardware technology. I mean, you need some serious computing power and serious video power to make it work, but it does work. And you can create yourself an empty room. You can put in the size and shape of it, and then you can just start grabbing elements with your hands in this headset and add risers, couch, color, carpet, screens, projectors, TVs, speakers. Build it all. Um, Invite the client in with another headset. Walk around the room with them and say, "Well, what do you think? Is that couch too close to the TV?" You can throw up scales and show them what it'll look like. Hey, according to standards, that TV is too close, or the TV is too small, or the TV is too high. Um, so, you can really give them a feel for exactly what the room's going to look like instead of guessing afterwards. And here's the thing is it shows a level of professionalism that you just don't get from the, "Hey, how you doing? I'm going to put up the speakers in the TV."
It's definitely next level tech. I think it's super interesting. If you're out there and you're watching or listening and you're using Modus, their website is Modus VR. So it's MODUS VR.com. And if you have experience using their technology and selling or working with clients, I'd love to hear it. So definitely drop it in the comments. Thomas or Tomas from Panama, he says that is some impressive tool. Got a chance to test it back in 2018 at CEDIA. So it sounds like Tomas at least has seen this before, and I agree. I put the headset on and I played with it for about 20 minutes or so. It was definitely some pretty interesting technology. Now, a couple of things, Keith, I want to cover before we part ways here. One is just a real simple little, I don't know, tip or trick that I heard you mention to me the other day, and I want to know how long you've been doing this. And it was the idea that you always put a backup router on your job sites. So you don't install, is it the router or the switch, or what is it that you're doing? And you said it's just been a lifesaver so many times.
Well, remember, these systems that we're installing in our customers' homes, we own. Um, Service is our responsibility because they're our products, they're paying for service. So the less service I have to go out to do, or my team has to go out to do, the more profitable it is for me. The old model is, hey, the more service I get, the more I make. And I kind of found that almost inherently a little dishonest. So it means you could do a worse job and you get more service, so you make more money. I don't know. I know people don't intend for it to be like that, but it kind of does, right? I mean, think about it. We're sitting down with a client and telling them day one, you haven't even installed this system yet, and you need to buy a 1-year maintenance program on a system that hasn't even been installed. I would be a little trepidatious about saying yes to that. So the more bulletproof we build the system, uh, the more advantage it has to us. And actually, it makes us more profit too, right? So our industry has been behind on networking. It's caught up a little bit, but in the world of networking, our industry has been really behind. Stuff that's been out in the enterprise and professional level has been out for, 10, 20 years that we're just starting to get into. And I think it's because our industry has this brand loyalty to speakers or TVs or cable or parts. We just have this love of a company. And we have three manufacturers in this industry that pretty much everybody uses that would probably never be used in an IT department in any company. But yet the AV industry has landed on these three companies that are networking products that are made just for AV guys. So my methodology is to use the professional stuff. I happen to use Cisco Meraki. I like it. It's not the only one out there. There's lots of other different Cisco stuff out there. There's Fortinet and SonicWall and HP and lots of great stuff out there that's been in the industry doing what they do for 30 years.
I want to say in my office in Davie, we're running Cisco Meraki. Mm-hmm. I think that's what we moved to probably about 10 years ago or so.
So I think what you're trying to get me at is if you have a router in a house and the router stops working, it's game over. Everything stops working. Your remotes, your lights, it's game over. So how do you not have a second one there called a warm spare? It's sitting there, it's on, it's ready to go. And it's basically just playing Marco Polo with the main router. And when the main router doesn't answer Polo, it becomes Marco.
Wow.
And yeah, it sits there and it has the exact configuration and it just takes over and it's automatic. And we get an alert that that's occurred. But that's the difference between us calling the customer and saying, hey, next week we're going to come out because you're on your backup part and we're going to change it. Or maybe we can even fix it remotely. To them calling us saying, hey, by the way, the earth has stopped rotating. Because that's what they say, the proverbial nothing works.
No,
so
love it.
Cellular backups, I'm a big believer in. Redundant routers, redundant parts. If the internet goes down in a house, we should still be able to get in remotely and reboot things through a cellular connection.
I agree. Keith, you have been on the, you and I were able to talk a bit and even hang out and do some fun activities there in Vegas last month. And in one of the conversations, you had mentioned that your company, you always have your eye out for acquisitions and acquiring new businesses, whether that's, the employees or the brand or the book of business or the customer list. Obviously we're 30 days later and now we're almost in a new economy. We're in a new state of affairs. Not even quite sure yet what the new normal will be. But it's interesting that you're, a go-getter, business operator running a successful business. What are you looking at when you're acquiring businesses? What is really your strategy there? And maybe how has the COVID-19 situation modified that, if at all?
Well, I think maybe giving me more credit as a business person than I am. I'm just an integrator like everybody else, but we're a small or mid-sized company. And I've seen so many really talented people that were like a 1 and 2 man show, the proverbial man in a van, where they know their stuff, care, are smart, hardworking. Their clients have a lot of loyalty to them, but they're just wearing 50 hats. And maybe they're not good at accounting, and maybe they're not good at marketing, and maybe they're not good at sales or inventory, or the list goes on of all the hats you have to wear that you didn't even know existed when you started the company. So I really like meeting somebody who I think is a winner, but maybe is, their phone is blowing up. You can't even have a cup of coffee with them because their phone's just going bananas. And I say, look, you're probably wearing 50 hats. How'd you like to wear 2 or 3? And you pick the favorite ones that you like. Pick the ones that you got into this business for. And you could just do that. And you could still deal with your same customers. And you could still do the jobs that you love. And come and meet the team. Meet the people that are going to do the rest of it for you. And if you don't think they're going to do a great job, then this isn't for you. But they're gonna. And I mean, you know, other members of my team, I have a lot of faith in them. So it's great to watch a person get de-stressed, do better work, have happier customers, um, by what we call it a roll up. We roll them up into total home. We've done this probably about 5 times, from anything from a one man show to companies that were more than a half a dozen people, in the past 10 years. So I've done about 5 acquisitions, and they've all worked out great. Um, I love keeping the same people on board. I mean, I want the team. I want the staff. You know.
Got it. Well, if you're out there listening and you want to talk to Keith, when we close out this show, I'm gonna put his contact information. I'll put it on the screen, and we'll also have him inform us of the best way to get in touch. Keith, just to close out before we get your contact info. There's a lot of people that are listening from around the world, and or some are watching the video here live, or will watch it on replay. Do you have any words of advice? I always like to end with any parting words of advice or things that you would have people be mindful of or take into consideration during these challenging times.
Put your own safety and your team's safety above everything else. Make smart decisions. If you're not doing RMR now, I'm sure you know why you should be. And the hardest thing that I think we're all struggling with is, I think everybody needs a hug right now. It's tough. And that's the one thing you can't do. Um, Ron, I would love to go get a beer with you, but we can't do that, right? So I think that takes a lot of mental discipline, and a lot of emotional focus to stay positive during these times, because there are better times to come. This too shall pass. And in the end, we're all going to be better for it.
No, amen. I do think there'll be a culling of businesses. Every business will not survive. Not being overly harsh there, maybe more matter of fact. I mean, this is one of the more tough economic challenges, the world has ever gone through. Not the toughest. There's been tougher situations, world wars and whatnot, but this is a tough one. This is up there on that list. And
it's the hardest one emotionally.
I agree. It's the anxiety and the level of fear, and just the lack of the human interaction. Humans are creatures that like to interact. They're social creatures, and we have our Zoom and we have our FaceTimes, but there's just a lot of value in that, actually being in the same time and space as that other party, and we're not allowed to do that right now.
Same pub.
The same pub. Yeah, not an option. But, we look forward to being on the other side of it. Keith, what is the best way for our audience, if they'd like to get in touch with you directly? What's the best way to do that?
Well, our website is www.totalhome.tech. And my email address is Keith, Keith, @totalhome.tech. So that's probably the best way to reach out to me. And please do. We're trying to do everything, even not for our customers. I mean, Ron, that promotion we just put out on Facebook.
Actually, do you mind sharing that? Because you're actually putting some money behind promoting a way that you're trying to help your community. If you don't mind, maybe we could just close on that. What are you doing?
Sure, absolutely. In our region, Manhattan has been hit the hardest. It is the most locked down. It is the most restricted. It's a hot zone right now. So us being a very competent Control4 dealer, that's our bread and butter. That's what we know really well. We've reached out to every single person, not every customer, but anybody. And for free, no credit card, no commitment. We don't ever have to do business with us. We are providing, at this point, 1 month of free remote service for anybody that has a system that we're familiar with, which is mostly Control4. So basically, if you have a Control4 system out there and somebody else did it, and you're having a hard time on something, we're happy to jump in remotely and help you out. No commitment, no money, And we're going to do that for 1 month. We're going to see how it goes. And if we're not out of this, then we'll probably do it again for another month.
No, that's putting your money where your mouth is. That's impressive, Keith. Well, Keith, it was a pleasure having you on episode 108 of Automation Unplugged. And I think technology ended up behaving here in the end. So that was very cool.
Thanks, Ron.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. The one and only Keith Harrison from Total Home Technologies. And I know our team works directly with Chuck over there, and they wanted me to make sure I gave Chuck a shout out. So Chuck, you're the man. Thank you for being so great to work with. And folks, if you do not already, don't forget to go to your favorite podcast platform. I know that I personally use the purple podcast icon on my iPhone. And search up Automation Unplugged and subscribe. If you feel so compelled, leave a review. And ultimately, it'll help this content get out to more folks. And let me go ahead and put up my closing artwork here. I know I still have that word image on the screen. I need to get in and edit that out. But on that note, folks, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and stay safe. Don't forget to wash your hands. And let's take Keith's advice and let's hug someone next to you. So give someone a hug, spread the love, and I will see you next time. Thanks, everyone.